Hi, and welcome to Untethered with Jen Liss, the podcast that's here to help you break free, be you, and unleash your inner brilliance. I'm your host, Jen, and in this episode, we're going to talk about why your gifts are needed and how to unleash your creative magic. Let's dive in. Hey there, unicorn. It's Jen. Welcome back to the podcast for this Thursday thread. It's a Thursday thread. Welcome to Thursday. This is a Thursday thread pulling a little tiny string out of, actually, it's like a big, thick, amazing, magical rope that we're pulling out of Ashley Meyer's podcast episode from Tuesday. Totally okay if you haven't listened to that episode. However, I do recommend it. There are things that Ashley says in this podcast episode that I'm like, every human needs to hear this, needs to have it just ingrained into our soul. Because Ashley's talking about being your own hero. And not only that, but seeing how needed you are. Like each of us is so needed. You were put on this earth for a reason. You have specific, magical, amazing, creative gifts, and you're meant to unleash them. Each of us is. Truly, truly, we are. And that's really what this entire podcast is about. This is what I myself, through my own journey, have figured out. I am just so I could just talk about this all day, because when I look at another human being, I can see so much dang magic in that person. And the thing is that we often aren't seeing it ourselves. We're all tethered up and layered with all of these things that we think we could do or should do, and all of the expectations that we feel like were set on us. And it's really our job to untether them and to come back home to the brilliant creative that you are. And the fact that you have this capability to unleash your magical creativity in the way that that makes you feel good. It's not even just the way that you're meant to. It's in the way that feels freaking amazing to you. My friend, this is not something I thought I was going to talk about this in this podcast episode, but somebody just sent me an Instagram reel of a priest. He is full in his priestly robes, the layman's robes. I don't know if you're Catholic, but when they're up on the pulpit, when they're giving mass, priests wear a different attire than what they wear just out and about. So he's wearing his out and about, his casual priest wear. And he is sitting in front of a whole setup and he's raving to Ave Maria. Like he is, I don't even know the right word for this. He is like making rave music out of Ave Maria. It's like, Ave Maria. Okay, you know that I can't sing, but Joey, feel free to cut that out of this episode. He is doing what lights him up in his own creative way. He's a priest. He stands up there and he does his priest thing every Sunday and all day, every day. And he must love that kind of music. Like he's into raving, and he can be a priest and be into raving. We think sometimes that we can't do all of the things that we want to do. We can't do all of the things that light us up. We've got to do this a certain way. We've got to do it the way that other people have laid out for us, the path that has been trodden before. I've got to be this kind of priest in order to be a good priest. I've got to be this kind of accountant in order to be a good accountant. Well, Chris Guillebeau, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago, he talked about this woman who has made millions of dollars on TikTok. She teaches people how to do Excel spreadsheet tricks in a fun way. Most people Excel spreadsheets make my eyes bleed. This was a joke at my corporate job. I cannot look at these things. It makes my eyes bleed. But she's out there making it fun. And that's what each of us can be doing, because you have gifts. And the truth is that the key to your gifts is what lights you up, what gets you excited. That growing up, this priest was probably listening to that kind of music and grooving out. And what if he went into that job and felt like, it's not okay for me to do that anymore. It's not okay for me to like this music anymore. Or he's like closeting it and like pretending not to, when like secretly sitting there listening to that kind of music. It's like, no, just let yourself be you. And you is lit up by certain things. What is it that you love to do? Do you love to ride your bike on the weekend? Why not start riding your bike to work, or take your bike to work and ride on your break? What if that might inspire something for you? Because you start to notice that in riding your bike to work, you notice that there's challenges with that, and you have an idea of how to make it better. You have an idea for some kind of satchel that you hook up to your bike that holds a laptop. That this is where creative ideas really come from, is by us allowing ourselves to engage in the practices that are fun, what's enjoyable for you. But most of us aren't doing that. We aren't leaning into what lights us up. We're leaning into resistance, right? We're leaning into, oh, I can't stand this. Oh, this job that is just, oh, there's no fun there, right? And yet it kind of feels good to stay in that stickiness. It feels good. There is something, we're always choosing something good. And I use good with air quotes, and also recognizing that nothing that we choose is neither good nor bad. It simply is. However, we feel like we are choosing something good in any moment. Let's take potato chips and celery, right? They're both crunchy. You chew them both. You swallow them both. They both go into your body, and they do things within your body, right? Like, they're two food groups that you can choose for a snack. Now, celery, we know, has health to it. Potato chips, we know, so much health to it, unless you need a lot of extra salt and fat in your diet. Maybe you're running ultra marathons. Maybe a few chips might do you a little bit of good. But in general, that's the case, right? We know that celery, good, chips, bad. And yet, which one do you want to choose? Which one do you desire to choose? Probably that chip. Let's be honest. And totally okay if you're a huge celery fiend. That's awesome. Most of us, probably, it's like our body is naturally inclined to want that bad thing. And I've spent so much of my life thinking about this. Like, why? Why does our body, why does our mind want to choose the bad, quote unquote, bad thing and not the good thing? Why do I really want to eat a whole bunch of hot tamales instead of having this really delicious salad? Because salad is good. It's delicious. It's tasty. But instead, I want the dang hot tamales that are going to make me feel like poop. The same is true for the choices that we make in our everyday life. When you choose to stew in the junk, when you choose to self-sabotage, when you choose that, you're choosing the chips. And we want the chips. But why would you choose to self-sabotage? Well, why would you choose the chips? Because it feels really good. Those chips taste good. Self-sabotage and just stewing in the soup of even just self-loathing. It is like, that is like a jalapeno potato chip dipped in, what's the soup I used to like from Panera? A jalapeno potato chip dipped in broccoli cheddar soup. If you've never had that, it's the weirdest, most amazing combination. I used to get it at Panera all the time. I'd get chips and dip them into that soup. Now that I'm dairy free, I'll probably never have that soup again. So I will just remember it for my entire life, how good that combination was. We choose that. We want to choose that. And guess what? You're predisposed to desire to choose that. And this is not because you don't love fun. You don't love to be lit up. You don't love to be creative. It's because your body wants to stay in stasis. It wants to stay right here. Your mind and your body are like, this is a safe place. I know it. It is known, and it is comfy, and it is cozy. And I want them to stay right here on this couch with the chips. So we're going to stay in this cycle of control, perfectionism, procrastination, self-loathing, anxiety, stress, whatever that is for you that you tend to find yourself in, whatever that little bag of resistance is, that is what you're going to be predisposed to choose, which is, it's unfortunate, but it's true. And your body does it for a reason. But when we know this, do better. When we know this, then it's like, you know what? It's okay. I have compassion for myself when I find myself there. And I'm going to choose to eat the celery most of the time instead of the chips. But once in a while, I'm going to let myself have a little bit of that chip every once. That's okay. I'm an everything in moderation kind of person. Genuinely. It's like, have compassion for yourself when you find yourself in those places, and don't stay there. We don't have to stay there because the magic isn't happening there. The magic is happening in your fun. The magic is happening when you are a dance party rave priest. If that visual is helpful and supportive to you, that's where that brought me so much delight. And I think that gentleman might be actually making a business out of this. Like a social media influencer, a priest doing party music, techno music. What are you calling it what are the kids calling that kind of music these days? EDM. I don't know all of the intricacies of today's hip hot music. That's where you unleash your creative magic. And it starts with getting out of chip mode most of the time. And how do you get out of chip mode most of the time? Well, first of all, you recognize and you own, I am a creative freaking human. I am so creative. I am so gifted. I am so magical. I am indeed full of sparkly, amazing magic. This is where we start. This is the heart of things. If we don't admit that, if you can't admit that about yourself, you can go on a journey. I'll take you on a journey. That's what I coach on. I will take you right back home to that if that's something that you struggle with. And there's plenty of other people and resources, this podcast included. Right now, what I'm telling you, hopefully, will maybe sink in just a little bit, just open that up a little bit for you. And if it's a real struggle, that's when we get into the body and we feel into the heart. Our hearts are so closed. It's like lock and key there. It is like Alcatraz happening up in our chests, up in our heart space. Got to open that heart. You can open that heart, open that portal into your infinite abundance of creative magic that exists within you. That's where we start. We start with realizing you are whole and complete and wonderful and amazing and gifted and talented. Ah, so good. Feeling that, really feeling that, because we often don't believe it in our mind, but when you can feel it, when you can really tap into it, that is magic. It is actual, factual, amazing magic. Feel it with me. Come feel it with me in a breathwork session. I would love to help you feel into that portal, to tap into that, because it exists inside of you. It truly, truly does. That's where we start. We start there. We start with the owning the gifts, because they are, whatever it is, it's there for you. And your clues to that are to go to what makes you happy. What made you happy as a kid? What made you happy as a teenager? What made you happy today? Follow the light. We start to just follow it, follow it, follow it. And that is what leads us to our ability to unleash the creative magic. We have to let ourselves have fun. But we don't want to, right? We want to choose the chips. We want to choose I can't stand this job. Oh my gosh, if my coworker crunches on those chips that loudly one more time, I'm going to go wild. I know it. I've been there. I've been you. I have lived all of it. I'm so practical about this stuff because I fully, fully, fully understand it at a visceral level. And I still deal with this. We all do, right? It's just, this is life. We want to choose the chips. And you can. That's your choice. It is your choice to choose them. And sometimes, my husband knows right now, I have a little bit of a challenge with chips at 11 p.m. and I'm cutting it off. Cutting it off. No more 11 p.m. chips. I'm going to choose the priest rave party instead. And I'm going to lean into the fun. This is what we can do. This is how we start unleashing that magic within you, because it's there and it starts. And you'll hear me say this in so many podcast episodes and just in every coaching call that I do. I'm like, it starts there. When we find ourselves wandering out into the resistance, into that field of resistance, we move ourselves back into the magic. Get out of the snake pit, get out of the chip bag. It's full of snakes. And into the magic, the possibility, the creativity, the abundance, the joy, the love. It's love and fear when it comes down to it. Love, fear, all day, every day. Everything is a manifestation of those two things. And I can't wait to see what you create from that loving, creative, spectacular priest ravey space. Now let's take a moment to breathe together. Let's breathe together and tap into that creative potential inside of you. If you're driving, please wait until later to do this exercise, as we are going to have you close your eyes. So taking a seated position wherever you are, taking a deep breath into your nose, filling the belly, and breathing out through the mouth. Allowing your awareness to settle into the seat beneath you, the floor beneath your feet, feeling that surface beneath you as it supports your feet and your seat. Taking another deep inhale, seeing if you can lower that diaphragm into the belly, and exhaling out through the mouth. Now beginning to rotate that breath into the nose, out through the mouth. On each inhale, expanding your chest space. Inhaling in, expanding that chest space, out through the mouth, relaxing. Just rotating that breath with curiosity, noticing what it feels like to expand the heart space. There you go. And as you continue to breathe, saying this mantra to yourself, I am a brilliant creator. If you notice resistance as you say this mantra to yourself, using your exhales to audibly sigh, signaling safety to yourself. I am a brilliant creator. Feeling into that heart space as you breathe and say this mantra a few more times. On your final inhale, drawing a deep breath into the nose, filling the belly, pausing at the top. Exhaling all that air on a big sigh. Once more, I am a brilliant creator. Feeling those feet on the floor. Feeling back into the seat beneath you, that surface supporting your weight, wiggling your fingers and your toes, opening up your eyes, coming back into the room. There you go. Beautiful. Thank you, brilliant creator, for joining this episode. I hope that there was something that made you smile, that made you think, that you will take into the world with you today, recognizing the gifts that you have and your ability to lean into the fun and unleash them in your most magical way. Now you just keep shining your magical unicorn light out there for all to see. I'll see you next time. Bye.